Fat is important for hormone production. Add fiber in to your breakfast. Most people are not having enough when they're having protein. When you blend it and smash it up, it turns it into pretty much just sugar. Fasting doesn't work well for women, especially around menopause. People have eaten 700, 800 calories of just random rubbish all morning. Hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead. I'm one of the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creator of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we've helped more than 7,000 women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to fit back into their favorite clothes over the past decade. So today's podcast is all around menopause nutrition, and it can be quite a confusing subject because there's so much information out there online, and a lot of it's conflicting, and a lot of it doesn't apply to menopause, but it's being shown to menopausal women by social media for whatever reason. So people tend to end up quite confused around it. They don't know whether they should have carbs or not, whether they should do fasting or not. They don't know whether they should skip breakfast because of this whole fasting thing. They don't know what their breakfast should be made up of. So today I'm going to clear all of that up. And these questions have come to us through our social media channels on a variety of videos we posted recently about nutrition. So I'm going to clear everything up today, make it really clear what you should be eating, especially for breakfast, but just in general around menopause, so you can look the best and feel the best. And really, that's what we think it's all about. It's not only about losing weight and keeping it off and staying lean and toned and healthy, but it's also feeling great inside, in your own skin, in your clothes, of course, but also having energy, not having those big crashes, having steady you can energy and mood. So you're not having really low patches. And a lot of these things can be caused by the wrong nutrition choices. And they're often things you could have got away with in the past, but you can't now. So I'll explain why that is today and make sure you know what you need to be doing to fuel your body correctly, because put the right fuel in around menopause and it can be a much better experience. We've had so many clients who have eaten differently since working with us, and their menopause symptoms have pretty much gone away. They have their zest for life back. They have their energy back. It means they can function better at work and perform better at work and so many other things. So without further ado, though, let's get into the questions because it will all be revealed as we get into these questions. So first question is around breakfast. So I posted a video saying what breakfasts to avoid, and also then people started asking what breakfast they should have. So just to summarize, the type of breakfast I suggested avoiding were very carb-heavy breakfasts, so things like porridge on its own, cereal, granola. These are all great if you're an endurance athlete running 10 plus miles most days. If you sat at a desk all day, these are a bit of a disaster because they're going to cause blood sugar spikes and crashes. They are way too carb-centric and you're not going to burn them off just sat at your desk all day. You're not going to need carbs. Are basically, along with fats, are a fuel your body can use for activity, and they don't keep you very full. And because they digest pretty quickly and easily on their own, you get these big blood sugar spikes and crashes, and they're worse around menopause because you have less estrogen. And estrogen helps you regulate blood sugar. So you have less estrogen, you can't regulate blood sugar so well, so you'll get mood swings, you'll get fatigue, you'll get hot flushes caused by blood sugar spikes. You basically can't buffer that blood sugar so well, you can't get away with having these pure carb breakfasts. So that was kind of one of the main points in the video. Another one was to avoid having just a really light breakfast, because people think, I've got to preserve calories. Most people are aware they need to not consume too many calories now, which is true, but it tends to get taken too far and people cut the calories from the wrong things. And then they end up having just like a really small breakfast, like half a piece of toast or a piece of toast. Again, all carbs as well. So same problems as I've just discussed. But also they're just not full because they've had this really small breakfast made up of the wrong things. They might be a tiny bowl of cereal, little yogurt or piece of fruit or little coffee. Maybe a bit of fruit and a coffee is not going to keep them full. So they're then going to eat rubbish all morning. And generally, almost always, in fact, people eat more from little bits and bobs than they would from a real meal. So a really filling breakfast could be 300, 400 calories, like a 4-egg omelette. Most people are not having enough when they're having protein. With lots of veggies chopped into it, it'd be very filling. Or some overnight oats with some protein powder, with a protein shake on the side, very filling. And that might be 400, 300, 400 calories. That's just a couple of biscuits and a latte, and you're already over that. And that's going to fill you up for about half an hour. So then you can have a couple more biscuits from the canteen or from the kitchen if you're working from home, or, from the side at work where someone's birthday and they have cakes. Before you know it, you've eaten 800 calories. And most people don't realize they're doing this, but this happens all the time. People have eaten 700, 800 calories of just random rubbish all morning when they have skipped breakfast, so they think they're being good. Or it might happen in the afternoon. Sometimes, you can go the whole morning without eating, but then this chaos happens in the afternoon because you didn't eat the right things in the morning. So the questions I've got around this are from Teresa: can you show us the perfect brekkie? And Shelley said, what's a good breakfast to eat for menopause? So essentially the same question twice. The answer, inevitably, if you've listened to this podcast before, is always protein first. So whatever you're eating, you have to think protein first if you want to look good and you want to feel good. If you don't care about those things, of course, you don't have to do any of this. This is just me sharing the facts of what you need to do if you want those things. The reason why is protein digests very slowly. The analogy I often use is it's like putting a big log on a fire. That log lasts for hours and releases energy for hours because it's very difficult to break down. It's the same with protein. But there's a lot more benefits beyond that. So first of all, it gives this steady release of energy. And it also triggers the release of peptide YY, which tells your brain you're full. So you feel full and you have steady energy. So that's really, really good. You're going to stay full for ages. But protein also helps with retaining and building muscle, which even if you're not exercising, it helps to maintain muscle. It has an anabolic effect, a muscle kind of stimulating effect. And muscle is one of the main reasons people struggle to stay in shape as they get older, because they lose muscle, and muscle is very metabolically active. It means it burns a lot of calories just being there and being maintained. And most people lose, on average, 1% of muscle per year from age 30. So by the time they're 50, they might have lost 20%. By the time they're 60, they might have lost 30%. And it tends to accelerate a bit more around menopause. They might even have lost 40, 50% of their muscle. That is, the analogy I use around muscle is having more muscle is like having a car with a bigger engine. Now, I'm currently selling my family car because it is fairly ridiculous. If you guys don't know me, I'm very into cars. I have an old Mercedes estate. It's 14 years old, but it has a 6.2 litre engine, which is ridiculous. And we've got a son now, and it's expensive to tax. And yeah, I love the sound of it, but it has to go. That is a bit of a disaster in a car. It's very exciting, but it does about 20 miles to the gallon if you're lucky. So it burns a lot of fuel. That's not good in your car. You want a car, ideally, I'm guessing, that is very fuel efficient, it's cheap to run. Your body, though, you want the equivalent of that 6.2 litre engine in your body that uses loads of fuel. If you want to stay lean easily, if you want to stay, be able to eat whatever you want almost and stay lean, stay toned, stay in great shape, it's kind of what people would call a fast metabolism. You want that big engine. And the equivalent of that is having loads of muscle. So you don't need to look like a bodybuilder. Females almost never end up looking like that unless they're taking performance enhancing drugs. So don't worry, you're not going to look like that. You'll just look firm and toned and tight and feel youthful and be strong. You'll look fantastic. Your muscle's small and dense. So having that muscle creates this kind of like food sinkhole where you can get away with a lot more. And most people have lost so much muscle, especially if you do extreme dieting. That's one thing that will really accelerate muscle loss, is low calorie dieting. So that's why we want to avoid that at all costs around menopause, because you're already losing it with age if you don't do the right things. But if you eat enough protein and ideally combine that with strength training, you're going to build all this muscle. And so we want to consistently be eating this protein. You can't just occasionally be giving your body that, because it doesn't then have the stimulus and the fuel to maintain that muscle. Protein's a bit like the bricks. If you're building a dream house, if you don't give the builders the bricks, it doesn't matter how many days or weeks or months the builders are there, they can't build your dream house. Same thing with your body. If you want to look good, if you want to feel good, you need to give your body the right ingredients, and protein is the first and most important thing if you want to look good. So it'll keep your metabolism high. It'll also help to do a lot of other cool things as well. So it'll help to regulate mood. There's a lot of evidence showing it helps to regulate mood. And that's something that, again, without so much estrogen around menopause, your body won't do so naturally. It'll help to regulate cravings. So you'll probably be able to go from breakfast to lunch without eating, or only eating something healthy, because you won't be craving something really sugary, like a muffin or a piece of chocolate or a biscuit. It will also give you way fewer menopause symptoms because of your blood sugar regulation being so much better. So there's really no downsides to this. You can't eat too much protein. Unless you're eating 2 steaks per every meal, you're not going to eat too much. There's no kidney issues associated with it. That's all complete nonsense. You have to eat an unbelievable amount of protein to have any kidney problems, and no one's doing that. I've never seen a client ever have that, even though we hammer this in to them. So protein first with your breakfast. Now, this can look like lots of different things. It could look like Greek yogurt, not Greek style. Just make sure you get that distinction right. There are lots of protein yogurts out there now. They do often come with a bit more sugar or sweeteners and stuff. So the best kind of purest form of yogurt protein is going to be proper Greek style yogurt or quark, however you say that one. It could also be a protein shake. Ideally, you want a fairly unprocessed one of those. There's lots of them out there. They're not expensive. So that could be on the side with something else, or you can stir it into something like porridge, like Greek yogurt. So you can fortify that Greek yogurt by stirring in protein. Almost becomes like Angel Delight. So it tastes like a dessert, but you're actually having something that's really good for your body. It could be eggs. Now, there's no evidence to show cholesterol from eggs causes high dietary cholesterol, doesn't cause high blood cholesterol levels. They're actually very healthy. So you can eat 3-4 eggs minimum. That's going to be about 20 grams of protein. Ideally, you want to get up to about 30. So then you want to pair that with something. So it could be with some lean bacon. You could get the medallions without the fat. Can have the fat as well. Fat is important for hormone production. Just be careful with the quantity. So maybe 1 or 2 pieces of bacon, not 3 plus. Not streaky. Smoked salmon's great, so you could have that with the eggs. Lots of healthy fish oils in there as well, which will be good for your skin, your hair, your nails, brain function, everything, really, your joints. These are just a couple of different ideas. You can eat anything. We were having a discussion yesterday with our coaching team. One person said they will sometimes eat steak for breakfast. Now, that's not normal. We don't generally recommend clients do that because it's a step too far, but you can eat. It doesn't have to be a specific breakfast food. But if you want a really quick one, we'll come on to those in a minute, but those are just a couple of ideas to get protein in your breakfast. The next thing you want to add once you've got that protein, always get that protein in if you want to get good results, is then to add fiber in to your breakfast. So this is typically fruit, nuts or seeds, ideally fruit in its whole form. So this can get misconstrued. People think fruit, so I'll buy one of those naked or innocent fruit smoothies from the supermarket. That's had all the fiber taken out of it pretty much. When you blend it and smash it up, it turns it into pretty much just sugar, and your body will, if you look at the sugar content of those, a lot of them are higher than fizzy drinks like full sugar Coke. So they are not what you want to be having. That's going to cause a blood sugar disaster, roller coaster for the whole day, and set you up for crazy cravings, mood swings, all sorts of things. Even though it's based on fruit, it's processed. It's not how you want to have it. You want to have the whole fruit in there, ideally. Definitely not something that they've taken the seeds out to make it more palatable. So if you're going to have the fruit, there's a couple of different forms. So fresh fruit, berries are a really good source of fiber. Berries like strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. It's those little seedy bits in them that are really, really good for fiber. Raspberries are very good. So you can put them on top of your Greek yogurt. You can put them in your protein smoothie. I like to use frozen ones. Top tip, Aldi and Lidl are best for frozen berries. Their summer berry mix is great. I stockpile it if I go there because we don't always shop there, but if I do, I get loads of it. And because you're blending that from its whole form and you're not removing those seeds and pips and things, that will then still add the fiber for you. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results at last and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now. And then seeds or nuts are another good form of fiber. So I will add chia seeds or flax seeds to my smoothies. And I'd highly recommend people do that because most fiber doesn't get digested anyway. So people get really worried. This whole focus on calories now is kind of backfired. It's gone too far and people end up just cutting out too much good stuff your body needs, and their bodies end up undernourished and then they eat more rubbish. So we want to add in, even though there are some calories in chia seeds or flax seeds, we want to be adding those things in moderation. It's like a teaspoon of those. It'll help with digestion. It'll help keep you regular. You should be going to the loo every day. That's a sign you're not getting enough fiber if you're not going to the loo consistently every day, most days at the same time. And then you have a pretty good foundation for a breakfast. So protein first, then fiber. And then if you want to add in some carbs, they're kind of optional. Bear in mind, fruit is already carbs. So you're already getting some carbs from that. And if you're sat at a desk all day, you don't need that many carbs. You need protein to maintain your muscle, especially if you're exercising to recover from that. But you need that protein to fill you up regardless, so you don't crave loads of things, to keep your blood sugar steady. And fiber for gut health. The carbs are optional, but you can have them. Most of our clients do have them. So you could have something like overnight oats, where you soak the oats the night before with berries mixed in, maybe with a bit of cinnamon that adds a bit of sweetness without calories. And without sugar. I use unsweetened almond milk because it's the lowest calorie form of milk. So you save the calories for other stuff that you like. You could use oat milk though as well. And have a protein shake on the side, for example. You can also stir protein powder into most porridge variations. So those are a few different ideas, and all of them can work. It's really understanding the fundamentals and learning the fundamentals of nutrition, and then finding a few different breakfasts you can have in different situations. So a lot of our clients travel for work, and I say, like, if you're traveling, they say, oh, well, when I'm out of routine, I don't know what to do. And we educate them and show them how to create a different routine for every situation. So school holidays might be a different routine, or university holidays versus when they're on their own. And it might be a different situation to when they're going to work versus working from home versus traveling. And you need a routine for each. So I know if I'm traveling on the road, we have different work, events we run for clients, and also business meetings we go to. I will make overnight oats the night before and combine them with a protein shake. So that's very quick and easy. I can grab the protein shake. I've pre-mixed it the night before. The overnight oats are made in the fridge. I can eat them in the car. Don't tell anyone, but you can eat them in the car whilst you're driving. Just don't have an accident, because that will be messy. Or you can eat them very quickly in a service station or something like that. So that's my routine on the road. At home, I make myself a protein smoothie with some frozen berries, some protein powder, some unsweetened almond milk, a little bit of peanut butter, and some chia seeds or flax seeds. Blend that up. I don't like to sit down and have a really big breakfast in the week. That hits my protein and fiber requirement in the week, and clients can do just the same thing. Okay, on to the next question. So the next question is about fasting. So Ruru says, I do the fasting till 12 and lost no weight. So what should I eat? Please don't say avocado. So first of all, Ruru, you don't have to eat avocado. There's nothing you have to eat to see good results. If someone's telling you that, that's nonsense. But this is quite common. There are people who see results with fasting. There's people who don't see results with fasting. But what we tend to find, and what a lot of the menopause specific experts who have a real scientific background find, is fasting doesn't work well for women, especially around menopause. This is because it's for a few reasons, but because hormonal fluctuations happening around menopause mean the body is already very disrupted. And it's not actually natural to just stop your body being able to eat. People will tell you, oh, it's natural when, in the Paleolithic days, we didn't eat all the time. But also in those days, people were basically starving half the time. People had to be really active because you had to keep the fire going half the year. You had to carry your child around all the time. You had to make your own house. Lifestyle was completely different. It's completely incomparable to how we live now, mostly sat at a desk working. And the quality of food's totally different. So they had no processed food. They'd have to eat all fresh food. So it's a completely different landscape. It's not really the right thing to compare it to. And a lot of people who say fasting has all these magical qualities are not that educated. And they are kind of riding on this wave of this fad. And the reality is, when you look at the data, it works quite well for men, as with a lot of studies, not so well for women. And when it's compared to calorie restriction, it basically gets exactly the same results in terms of improved cognition, improved longevity. People make it sound like fasting has these magical things. It's just not eating too much and not eating too much rubbish that has the same benefits as fasting. So you don't need to do fasting. And in most cases, we find it's better to eat 3 meals a day. And I've consulted lots of menopause nutritionists who have degrees in it, and they agree with the same thing. So we had Charlotte Hunter on here. She agreed with the same thing. Dr. Stacey Sims also is a big advocate of not fasting for women. So what's much better is to eat a proper breakfast, like we've talked about. But I think the key thing here is to say you don't have to eat that first thing in the morning. So we had another question from Rosie M saying, I get up at 5:30 for a 7:30 start. Who has time to chop veggies and cook an omelette? And this was in response to a video where I showed me making an omelette whilst I talked about breakfast suggestions. And I wasn't saying that was the only option to have. I was just saying you need to have protein and fiber, which that did have. So I totally get a lot of people very busy in the morning. Like I said, I don't want to cook a big breakfast in the week. At the weekend, I might. So you can make much quicker options. You can have those overnight oats with a protein shake on the side. You can have that protein smoothie, and you don't need to eat it as soon as you're up. I also don't eat as soon as I'm up. I'll wait till 9, 9:30, maybe even 10. That still counts as breakfast. And then I'll have lunch a little bit later. And that's actually quite a good schedule, because most people, the traditional sort of, school run schedule based eating times, I suppose, is like 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. breakfast, which is quite early. Lunch at 1, dinner at like 6:37, 7:30. That leaves a massive gap between lunch and dinner. So you kind of have to have another meal, or at least some very well-chosen snacks to get through that 6-7 hour window of not eating. If you eat at 9:30, 10, this is not, we don't need to call it fasting. It's just eating at a time that's appropriate for you. 9:30, 10, and then you eat at lunch at 2. Not always possible for everyone, but 2:30, and then you eat dinner at 6, 7. That gives you a fairly even spread then of 11, 12, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the afternoon. And you don't have to go such long stretches without eating too much. And you can still have snacks in between, but you shouldn't need so many if you follow the tips I'm talking about today. You should definitely be less hungry, so you should be able to pick better ones. So a piece of fruit and some nuts in the afternoon, or something higher in protein like some edamame beans or some pre-cooked chicken. You can have those in mid-afternoon and it'll keep you going through to dinner. A couple of boiled eggs, another great snack. So just to come back to that question, so I get up at 5:30 for 7:30 start. Just focus on quicker options, and you don't have to have them. You can have them first thing, or you can have them later. But you can make a protein smoothie the night before, put it in the fridge. It only takes 5 minutes to make, and then you have that ready to go in the morning. And that's something I do quite a lot as well if I'm traveling or up early. So question from Floozy. I'm not hungry in the morning. This is kind of all related. I do eat eggs, yogurt, vegetables to start my meal of food in the morning. So it sounds like this is someone doing exactly what I've just described, which is pushing back that breakfast. And that is totally fine. The key thing here is just to avoid waiting all the way till lunch when you're starving. And then most people end up eating 2 times as much, grazing all afternoon because they starve themselves all morning. And then their body, understandably, is kind of fighting back. And then when you do eat, make sure it's a high protein, high fiber meal. And one thing I forgot to add earlier about why fasting doesn't tend to work so well is cortisol is a critical hormone to manage around menopause if you want to look and feel your best. It's the main stress hormone. It also goes up and down throughout the day with your circadian rhythm, so your body's kind of natural sleep-wake cycles. It's high in the morning, it then comes down, and then goes back up again, and then it comes down again. But that cortisol in the morning is something you want to kind of bring down, especially if you exercise in the morning, which will push cortisol even higher. If cortisol is too high too much of the time, it triggers what we call the weight gain triangle, which is 3 hormonal knock-on effects that make it very hard to lose weight and very easy to gain it around the middle. Leptin resistance, insulin resistance, and thyroid deregulation, basically increasing cravings through leptin and meaning you don't feel full, so you're going to be wanting to eat. Increasing fat storage around the middle with insulin resistance and making it hard to lose weight. And then thyroid deregulation means your metabolism is going to be slowed down, which again makes it hard to lose weight. And that happens from chronically high cortisol. So if your stress hormones are high all the time. So if you get up, you've got like most of our clients, you're in a pretty busy, high pressure job. You've got a whole team to manage. You're reporting to directors. You've got back-to-back meetings all day. You start the day with some vigorous exercise. You don't eat any breakfast. Cortisol's high. You go into all these meetings. Cortisol's higher and higher and higher and higher. You've got nothing to buffer and bring that down. Eating a high protein breakfast will bring the cortisol down post-workout or post going into these stressful meetings. It will bring that cortisol level down rather than just running on adrenaline all day, which is what a lot of people do. And that tends to lead to people holding on to weight. And this could be a whole topic for another day, but just on a high level, basically we want to have that breakfast as one tool. There's lots of things we do with our clients to help to manage cortisol and get them better results, but one tool to bring that cortisol down. Other things that help are picking better types of exercise, so low impact strength training, not vigorous cardio like HIIT, running, spinning, choosing walking to get more activity in, even if it's fast walking versus, again, gym classes and those highly intense things, making better food choices, avoiding caffeine afternoon or altogether if you're still struggling, and avoiding alcohol in the evenings. There's all sorts of different lifestyle things we can do to help to regulate these cortisol levels and stress levels better. And then the last question I've got today is another one around breakfast. So from DW, it says, I thought oats are okay as slow release carbs. What I want to say is there's no food that's good or bad. It's understanding the food itself and when to have it and in what quantity and making a conscious decision whether you have it or not. So oats can be okay. They are slower releasing carbohydrates than some other forms of hard carbohydrates. So they're slower releasing than white bread or pasta or sugar, so sweets. You know, if you have a Starbucks muffin, it's mostly sugar and white flour, so that's super fast release. So yes, oats are much better, especially if you've got oats that are not ground up, so not like ready break or not partially ground up. You got the whole oats, but it's not just about the release of the carbs. It's still a very unbalanced breakfast if you're just having a breakfast that's all carbs. What you need to understand with nutrition, it's about getting the right balance of nutrients that your body needs. Just eating carbs for breakfast, which most people do, toast, cereal, granola, porridge, they're all just carbs. If you add fruit to them, still all carbs. This is like teaching your child only one subject at school and thinking they're going to function well in life. So you don't teach them how to read, you only teach them maths. You don't teach them anything about history, anything about geography, any languages, any science, just maths. Good luck. It won't set them up well for life. Same thing with your body. If you only give it one of the macronutrients, so carbohydrates, you don't give it any healthy fats, you don't give it, which is essential for hormone production, by the way, which you definitely want to do your best to kind of get what you can around menopause. And then protein, which we've talked about all the benefits before. You're giving your body only a tiny piece of the pie of what it needs. And most people are doing this, and there's just not enough education around it. And I think it's fueled by the breakfast fuel industry, because it's a food industry, because there's so much money in selling cereal and cheap bread, very, very low cost to make. They can charge quite a lot, especially for the branded stuff. And you get through it quickly, so you come back for more and more and more and more. But it's actually a terrible breakfast for you, for your kids, for everyone. So ideally, you want to have a better balance. You want to shift that balance more towards protein. And then you can still have some carbs if you want, but they're optional. You want protein and fiber every single day, though. That's the most important thing. And then a few healthy fats. So we can shift that porridge to that healthier balance by having the protein powder stirred into it. So that's called protein oats, protein on the side. Or we can change the entire breakfast completely. But we also want to make sure we're adding that fiber. And oats do have some fiber, but we could add some more fruit to it, some more nuts, more seeds, as I talked about before. But most people are just having porridge on its own with some fruit, and this is all carbs. Yes, there's a little bit of fiber, but there's no protein, and there's actually no fat in it either, especially if you have it with like skimmed or semi-skimmed milk. And you need fat for healthy hormone production and to keep full. Fats are a lot more filling. Carbs are basically the least filling thing you can eat. And as a general guideline, we want to have protein first. And in terms of portion size, you want a palm-sized portion of protein. It's quite a big amount. And if you're going to have carbs, a small cupped handful of carbs, that's it. So if you can shift this balance, and this is kind of one of the most important things with nutrition around menopause, is we are trying to steer people away from just focusing on calories in versus calories out, because they end up getting these really unbalanced food choices, which still end up all being carbs, and they still can't see any progress because they're not full up. They end up eating too much. Their insulin's being spiked all the time from those carbs coming in. Their cravings are out of control all day. There's a few things slipping in that they shouldn't be because they're hungry all the time from eating these pure carb-based breakfasts. Their symptoms are all over the place from menopause. They've got hot flushes. They've got energy up and down, all caused by this really unbalanced way of eating. And if we can move towards that protein-first approach, have more fiber, and then have a moderate amount of good quality carbs, then you're going to get much better results. And it all starts with having that good, solid breakfast. If you can start with that, the other meals are much simpler. It's pretty easy to get protein in lunch and dinner. You know, you can have a salad with protein, with chicken, with tuna, with tofu. You can have an omelette for lunch. You can have chili con carne for dinner or a chicken curry for dinner. Those are a little bit easier. You can really surround those, base them around protein. Even if you're vegetarian or vegan, it's not too hard. There's a lot of substitutes you can use now. But breakfast is the one people really start the day off on the wrong foot, and then it's very hard to get the rest of the day in the right place. So that just about wraps it up for today's Q&A on menopause nutrition, mostly focused around the best breakfast and the quickest breakfast choices, as well as touching a little bit on fasting and general nutrient balance. I hope to catch you next time on this podcast for another episode. I will see you then.
Imagine living in a home that you've cherished for years.
You've done your best to keep it in good condition,
But no matter how much you clean, paint, or repair,
the problems keep piling up.
the cracks are showing, the roof is leaking, and it feels like everything is getting worse despite your best efforts.
For many women, losing weight around menopause feels just like that.
You've tried diets, workouts, and advice,
But the results don't come and the frustration keeps growing.
that's where our Fit Over 40 private coaching program comes in.
Think of us as your expert renovation team.
We know exactly how to fix the root issues, rebuild your confidence, and create lasting results, just like restoring a home to its best condition.
If you're ready to finally see results that last, click the link in the description below now. Let us help you restore the body and the life you deserve.